Mighty Oak Stories, Journey Home. Well, my friends, welcome. Our lovely family are away on their holiday, so we have time for this story. I know a lot of you have been eager to hear this. If you remember, we last visited Chuck and his animals when Billy rescued Bonnie. This follows on from that. There was a disturbance. It seemed like a lot were leaving. Precious the roe deer walked to Mighty Oak and whispered to the mighty tree's trunk. Sorry, sir, for the disruption. We thought it wise to have a toilet break before the story started. Ah, I see. Understandable. The creatures, one by one, returned. There was slightly awkward silence, all hoping Mighty Oak would please start soon, which he did. As I've told you, Billy was true to his word, and together Chuck and Billy had nursed Bonnie to a condition that she could travel the long journey to Scotland with Ashley by her side. Bonnie's infected wound was healing well. She was finishing her course of antibiotics. She had gained weight. Her hooves had been cut and treated. The vet had told Chuck she didn't need shoes. She was more stable on her legs, much stronger. Her coat, even though it had just been over 2 weeks, was in great condition. It was, however, the mental scars that would take longer to heal. She only trusted Chuck and Billy. Poor George nearly got bitten when just attempting to stroke her head. Well, there were 3 days left until moving day. Young Billy had got decidedly stroppy. Chuck gave him a pass for this, for he knew the lad was hurting. The nearer it got to them leaving. Uncle, Chuck carried on, packing the last boxes. Uncle. Oh, sorry. Yes, lad? Chuck had gone years with young Billy calling him by his name that threw him sometimes. He forgot Billy now called him Uncle. This annoyed Chuck himself, for he loved that Billy called him Uncle. It had moved him greatly. You know you said I could stay in the holidays. Yes, lad. I can't. Mum and Dad said we were all going to Blackpool for a week. Blackpool? I know, exactly. Uncle, when would Dad leave the animals to go there? Chuck turned. He tried not to laugh. I don't understand it. Chuck went along. So who's caring for the animals then? Great Uncle Pete and his wife. Mummy hasn't seen Uncle in years. And now they're coming to look after the animals. Billy, you might like Blackpool, all those rides. You sound like Mum. Uncle, you know me. I don't want to go. It's not fair. They said I could stay with you in Scotland and help. Dad said good learning experience. Now look. Uncle, could you? No, Billy. It's your parents' decision. I can't interfere. You don't want me to stay. Billy stormed out in a huff and slammed the door. Billy instantly regretted this. He loved Uncle Chuck and his animals. They were leaving in 3 days. He wanted to go back in, but felt so silly. Billy, you out there, lad? Oh, no, this was awkward. Yes, sir. Billy walked back in. His face was scarlet. Chuck said nothing about his temper tantrum at all. He patted the chair. Come here, lad. I want to show you something. Billy sat down. Chuck reached into his pocket. Billy, remember this? In his hand was his father's cigarette tin. Still had 3 cigarettes in, paper now yellowed with age. Yes, I remember that. It's your dad's. Yes, Billy. This means a lot to me, son. Of course it does. Billy, I want you to have this. Billy gasped. But this went to war. Billy was overcome with emotion. I want you to have it to remember your uncle, and because I know it will be kept respectfully. Billy threw his arms around his uncle. I love you, Uncle Chuck. Chuck quickly wiped the tear from his eye. He wrapped it in tissue. You'd best get home for your tea, lad. Billy clutched onto that tin so hard. This was a prized possession. He burst in the back door, showing his gift to his parents. As he ran upstairs to wash his hands before tea and safely put away the treasured gift, George and Betty smiled at each other. You know, Bets, we have made the right decision about the holidays. I agree, George. Moving day had arrived far too quickly for everyone. Ashley and Bonnie had left at 8 o'clock. Billy's eyes were swollen from tears. George, Betty, and Chuck were saying their farewells. Chuck had hired a removal lorry. They were waiting for Walter, a friend of Chuck and George's. By merciful providence, Walter had to go to Scotland to attend his granddaughter's wedding. He offered to take Stretchy, Basil, Tyler, Matilda, and Panther in his Ford Escort van. Chuck was going to have them in the removal lorry with him. He'd had many sleepless nights worrying about this. It would certainly have been a stressful journey. He was terribly grateful. Walter would not hear of taking any money. He had told Chuck he could finally somewhat repay him for all his kindnesses over the years. Walter arrived in his white van. "Now, son, you look, see if this is all right." He opened the back doors. Doreen had done Walter proud. It was padded out with blankets. She'd even crocheted blankets to pad out the sides so the animals would be in comfort. Chuck, hope that's all right, love." Doreen was turning round to see Chuck. "I'll come round." She wound the window down. "Chuck, we've got chunky meat for the boys and whiskers for the cat. Is that all right, love? Oh, and before I forget, this thermos flask is water for their journey." "Doreen, you've thought of everything. Let me Put that away now. Chuck, how many times have you helped us out? Please, let us do this for you." Chuck put away his wallet. "Well, I'm so grateful." Doreen affectionately tapped his hand resting on the open window. "So if we get there before you, lad, you say the pub in the village is holding your keys." "Yes, Walter. William, the lad taking Ashley and Bonnie, is dropping the keys off in the pub. It's the Lochside Inn. Right you are." Billy was broken. Said his goodbyes to the animals, as did George and Betty. Chuck was worried. The animals were very sombre. Chuck picked up Panther, then Matilda, who spat moodily. Stretchy, Basil, and Tyler leapt up, knowing what was required of them. They sorted out their positions, laying down. "Listen, I know it's all scary. It's different, but you will love it. And it won't be too long, and you'll see them again." Billy's ears pricked up. "What? What's that, Uncle?" Chuck said his last goodbyes and shut the doors. He turned round. "Sorry, George." "What?" Billy was impatient. What were they all smirking about? "Billy, our holiday. I know you told me Blackpool. Well, we might have misled you a little." "What?" Billy looked one to another. They were all grinning at him. "We are taking you to Scotland. We are going to stay with you for 1 week, and oh, so that bit's true about Great Uncle Pete, is it?" "Billy!" Betty was hurt. That wasn't her Billy, being smart-mouthed. Billy ran to his mummy. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry." Betty tenderly moved Billy's fringe out of his eyes. "Oh, darling, look at you." His eyes were puffy and swollen. "It's all right. We're all feeling it today. So many emotions. Listen, sweetheart, we're staying for 1 week with you at Uncle Chuck's." "Yay!" Billy jumped up and down. "Wait, son, there's more." George smiled. He was teary-eyed at his son's joy. "Uncle Chuck has said if you want to, you're welcome to stay for an extra 2 weeks."